OpenAI reportedly having trouble hitting some financial targets. The Wall Street Journal says that the company missed an internal goal of hitting 1 billion weekly active ChatGPT users by the end of last year. Some questions about revenue goals as well. As a result, you can check out shares of companies like Oracle. They're down sharply as that company has a $300 billion partnership to supply computer power to OpenAI. Oracle shares down by more than 6%. You can also see some of the chip makers, including NVIDIA, Broadcom, and AMD, all losing some power as well. AMD down by about 5.75%. NVIDIA and Qualcomm down by 3%. Broadcom off by about 4.5%. Joining us right now is Source's founder and Access podcast co-host, Alex Heath. And Alex, we've got a lot to talk about in this sector, but let's talk about this news of the morning, just because it is moving markets at this point. How big of a concern is this, and how do you kind of gauge this volatility that we see in some of these stocks connected to OpenAI and the entire AI kind of ecosystem?
I think what you're saying is that everyone is looking for a reason to believe that these AI chip stocks are overbought. And there's maybe a legitimate argument to that. If you read the Wall Street Journal piece, yes, it's true that ChatGPT is growing less quickly than it did in the past. At the same time, I think it's true that OpenAI feels incredibly compute constrained. And I think both of those things can be true. You hear it constantly when you meet with their leaders. They talk about it all the time publicly. You see it in the product decisions they make, the things that they choose to kill, Sora, for example, which I know was covered in depth. And so I think both things can be true. I think they can be growing slower than they should, and I think they're still compute constrained.
Yeah, also just in terms of the competition coming on, ChatGPT's market share of AI traffic, I think, dropped to 86.7%, or from 86.7% to 64.5% in January when you look at year-over-year numbers. You had Gemini going from 5.7% to more than 21.5%. So, still huge amounts of traffic and growing overall share in this market, but maybe different ways of divvying up the pie. And maybe that's what investors kind of get to is there a way to make money on this? Or are we still in that spend, and hope eventually to be the biggest players that walk out of this?
I think there was a risk that OpenAI was propping up this whole AI economy if we were talking maybe a year ago. That's not really the case anymore. When you see what the hyperscalers are committing, when you see what Anthropic's starting to commit, what Amazon is doing, what Oracle is doing, et cetera. And so, yes, is OpenAI a bit of a key man risk if things wobble for them? Sure. Is it something that's going to crash all of this? I think the market has matured, to your point, and so many people have gotten into the race, so many key companies with larger war chests, that the OpenAI risk is not as great, I think, as it was a year ago.
All right, let's talk about this high-stakes trial that's taking place right now between Elon Musk and Sam Altman, Greg Brockman, and all of OpenAI. You've been covering this for a long time. What do you think, first of all, about what's at stake here, and then the odds of how you think that plays out?
The stake is the IPO. That's the thing that OpenAI is looking at on the other side of this. You can't IPO when the entire governance structure of your company is being called into question by the world's richest and most powerful man, right? So they have to get through that. I think the other thing you can expect on the other side of this trial, if OpenAI succeeds, is Sam Altman finally gets a large equity package in the company. I want to point out that this whole time, Sam has not had direct equity in OpenAI. He's owned it indirectly through other investments, but he does not have the classic executive comp package. Kind of a governance disaster if they were to go public right now. It's very hard to make sense of where things stand. They want to clean all that up, but the trial has to get done because Elon is challenging the crux of what makes OpenAI what it is today.
But you also think that the reason he doesn't have billions that's been given to him in shares at this point is because of this trial, because they don't want to look like they are enriching Sam when Elon Musk is saying that's exactly what's happening here.
Absolutely. That's what they have to get through. They have to prove that they were, above board in how they restructured the company last year. and that then Sam on the other side of this can get his pay package. No one is a good guy here. I mean, we saw that with jury selection yesterday. The judge said it basically aloud in the court. It was very difficult to find jurors who could be impartial to these characters, right? The public sentiment around AI is very bad, and I think both companies are aware of that. We saw Sam and Greg Brockman, OpenAI's other co-founder and president, in the courtroom for jury selection, which is highly unusual for the star witnesses to be there for that day. So I think it just goes to show the stakes of this case.
Elon Musk has basically made the case that he's a defrauded co-founder and investor who thought this was going to be a charity. OpenAI put out a statement on X yesterday saying that he's just a frustrated commercial competitor. Can you be both of those things? And how do you think a judge will eventually view that? This judge.
I think both of those things are kind of true. I think it's a bit of sour grapes from Elon. And I think at the same time, he has a point that OpenAI started as a charity and it managed to maneuver out of that. It's still controlled by a nonprofit, but it managed to maneuver out of that. And what does that signal to the rest of the industry? Is this a playbook that other companies could do in the future if OpenAI is cleared to get away with this? I think that's a fair argument. I think at the same time, it's very clear if you look through all of this, the discovery, like I have, the depositions that have already been published, that OpenAI wanted to get out from Elon's thumb specifically because he wanted to control it. He wanted it to be part of Tesla, and he wanted to have total control of it. It's very clear from the evidence. So again, there are no sympathetic characters.
You want to handicap the outcome?
Oh, I don't know. We could leave that to the prediction markets, Andrew. I think, I was seeing last night on Kalshi that Elon's at like 40% to win. I imagine with how nuanced this case is, it lands somewhere in the middle. Probably more equity needs to go to the foundation of OpenAI, if I had to guess, which means investors maybe get a little diluted. Is it going to like completely stop this train? No, there's just too much at stake. OpenAI was already cleared by 2 attorneys general on this restructuring, which set the precedent already. But Elon's going to try to get a pound of flesh, no question, and he may be successful in that.